What's going on, guys? Got the dog out for a little walk. Thought this would be a good place to ramble for a few minutes. If nothing else, it's something besides looking at my ugly mug. Hopefully she doesn't jerk me around too much, but once in a while she gets a little excited. But this one I do have a subject in mind. Anyone ever hear the name Norah Vincent? I know I just learned about her not too long ago, actually. Come on, get out of there. She was a feminist who I actually can't help but have a little respect for, considering, and this was quite a while back, don't quote me on the year, so I won't say it, but she wrote a book called Self-Made Man. And unfortunately, I think part of the reason I'm learning about her recently myself is because she recently passed away. She was assisted in taking her own. And while I won't say this experience that I'm going to talk about is the reason, a lot of people would say that's what started it all. So it's too bad this is what it takes for people to get to know who she is. And not that I'm a big channel, but hey, I figure I can at least do my part. Come on. But to get into it a little bit, again, she was a feminist. And instead of taking everybody else's advice on how she should think of feminism and men and everything else, she decided to put it to the test herself. And in doing so, she came up with a plan to turn herself into a man, so to speak, for 2 years, to do some research on whether or not this truly was a man's world, right? And in doing so, I think she learned quite the other way around. And these are her words, not mine, which is why I found this to be a pretty interesting subject. It's a pretty pretty place. But to get to the point, she planned on doing it for 2 years, only lasted 18 months. I'm not trying to take away from that because that's all she needed to write her book. And in that experience, she basically talks about how men's problems are much different than women's problems. Now, while I'd rather not get too into this subject, there's a pretty good sized stump for you. I don't think she could get a real good idea of what it's like to be a man in 18 months or in any amount of time without growing up as one. And I say that because I wouldn't expect as a man to transform myself into a woman and fully understand it. And I have noticed that when it comes to the comment section of a lot of videos, I notice a lot of people talk about that. Hey, come on. A lot of people get into that, like, oh, well, how could she understand what it's like to be a man after only 18 months? Well, I can't help but wonder, did these guys saying that listen to anything she said? Because she was kind of trying to defend you when it was all said and done. She stopped being a feminist and she was actually actively going out saying that, hey ladies, men have different problems, but not only do they have different problems, but they express their problems much differently, and therefore maybe they are hurting and you just don't know it. I'm not going to get into this subject too much because truthfully, in fact, I might even try to link a video if I can find it. It was well, first off, I've seen the documentary that she did, or I should say an interview that she did that was on, I think, ABC. Don't quote me on that. And it was a good interview. I highly recommend watching it. All kinds of ducks come in. I'm going to watch them come in for a minute. You see a ducks, Ray? Geese, sorry. Come on. But anyway, kind of forgot where I was, truthfully. But in short, yeah, she did a lot for men in general after this experience. She was actually against feminism after this experience. And that's what I was going to say. I'm going to link... Hey, come on. This way. Come on. I'm going to link a video, if I can find it, that's not just the interview with her, but it's actually going to be a document, or an interview with another guy covering it. And the reason I'm going to link that instead of the actual interview is I thought this guy had some really good points that he brought up in between that should be relevant. Hey, come on. This way, come on. So, I hope, if nothing else, you'll take a few minutes to look her up, especially if you support feminism. I'm not gonna say, well, I don't like talking about feminism too much. I'm not a fan of it because I do think it's trying to hurt a traditional family. Hey, no, we're not going that way. Come on. Good girl. You know the drill. And I'm not trying to say, oh, women can't work or anything like that, because, hey, truthfully, when it comes to making money and having a household, I guess if the woman's going to be the one to make the money, that's fine too. I suppose I can go either way on this because, yeah, technically women are the ones that are the better nurturers, but it's a complicated subject that I would rather you just took her experience rather than listen to a guy talk about feminism, because I'm sure there's not too many guys out there that truly support it. I shouldn't say that too much because I know there are a lot of men that do, but if you actually explore the subject enough, to me it's just trying to screw up the traditional family. Honestly, at this point, I'm just enjoying the view, letting my dog walk around, trying to stay a little bit away from the people that are playing on the swing set, because a couple of kids are getting a little noisy. Hey, I don't want to get all wrapped up with you. Come on. Come on. Come on. But anyway, guys, this is an interesting subject, and I think this Norah Vincent did a pretty good job of becoming a man temporarily, and at least seeing some of the experiences, and if nothing else, she got a better idea of how men do express things because of it being so much different than how women express things. And that in itself gives me an appreciation. As I said, I'm not saying people should become the other sex temporarily. If anything, I would highly recommend you don't, because that's messing with people in ways that I just don't think you should. But for how she did it, and all things considered, I think it's a pretty relevant story. And it's one that doesn't surprise me isn't more popular, considering they kind of push the opposite. And I just think it's kind of funny that while they push certain agendas, they don't necessarily want to hear what happens to you after you've gone whatever direction it is they're pushing you. For once, you'll get a pretty good view of that. So, to be honest with you, I don't do well on my feet very long. So at this point, I'm going to start heading back to the truck. Hope you enjoyed the view. Hope this entertained you long enough. Hey, we're not going in there. I know. Come on, let's go up to the truck. Little by little. We're being a good girl. So anyway, guys, I think I'm going to just leave this here. Hopefully I can find that link to put it in the description. Hope you check it out. I don't necessarily want you to take my 2 cents for this. I'm actually, if anything, trying to give everything that she did more credence. So with that said, I'll wander up more toward the lake. There's a guy over there metal detecting. I didn't want to bother him with the dog. Plus it's a pretty small little park on that side of the road, so not nearly as big as all this, so that I could walk the dog. But as I walk up here, I'm not gonna say now, but as usual, I hope everybody's doing well, and I hope to talk to you again soon. Take care, guys.